Yes, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I would very much like to thank the Honourable Member for Marc-Aurèle Fortin for this valuable motion that will help national defence and the Canadian Armed Forces meet recruitment and retention targets for underrepresented groups. My honourable colleague has been a staunch champion of ensuring that these issues in the Canadian Armed Forces must be heard and challenged. I fully support this motion. Our government is working to build a public service that is more inclusive and effective. Gender-based analysis plus is essential to both of these goals. GBA Plus looks at how diverse groups of women, men, and gender diverse peoples may experience policies, programs, legislation, regulations, and other initiatives differently. It goes beyond an examination of just the impacts on gender and considers all of the different factors that simultaneously make up people's identities, such as age, sexual orientation, gender, geography, language, race, religion, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, and other factors, and how those intersect. Il s'agit de comprendre qui est touché, identifier comment nous pouvons adapter nos efforts pour répondre à leurs divers besoins et d'atténuer tout obstacle à l'accès ou au soutien. Cette analyse est essentielle pour bâtir une fonction publique qui réponde aux besoins de tous les Canadiens. Nous devons être justes, nous devons être équitables et nous devons être inclusifs. To this end, the Department of National Defence supports the use of GBA Plus in all defence activities, including recruitment and retention. We are facing an increasingly more complex, challenging, and interconnected world. State and non-state actors are competing for influence and challenging the rules-based international order that underpins our prosperity and democracy. And at home, the military has answered the call time and again to help Canadians in need, whether during natural disasters or during the COVID-19 pandemic. To remain strong at home, secure in North America, and engaged in the world, national defense must be agile. It must be able to adapt to new circumstances and innovate. Diversity and inclusion are essential to that. We need people from all different backgrounds who bring unique perspectives to the table and who can work together to find creative solutions to the problems that we face. National defense must also maintain trust and confidence of the people that we serve. That means upholding the highest ethical and professional standards. Treating all people with dignity and respect must be at the core of our culture, a culture that is currently undergoing a complete overhaul to better reflect the values that Canadians expect. And GBA Plus must be included in all of our work. One important area for this is recruitment. Recruiters are front and center in bringing top talent to the Canadian Armed Forces. They are often the first face in uniform that a potential recruit meets. So it's essential that they embody the values and principles that Canadians hold dear and understand the value of inclusion and representation. All Canadian Forces recruitment group members go through rigorous training on diversity, inclusion, racism, human rights, employment equity, and GBA+. They apply these principles in their work as they bring in the next generation of Canadian Armed Forces members. GBA Plus is a vital part of Operation Generation, the CAF's multi-pronged mission to meet growth requirements and employment equity goals. By using GBA Plus, we can better understand how perceptions of the military and attitudes toward joining may differ amongst various groups. We need to find and address any barriers. Bien qu'il y ait eu une légère augmentation du nombre de femmes recrutées dans les forces armées canadiennes au cours des 3 dernières années, nous n'avons pas encore atteint nos objectifs de recrutement. Les recherches de l'ACS+, montrent que certains groupes de jeunes femmes ne sont pas conscients des options de carrière disponibles au sein des forces. Ou encore, elles peuvent avoir des inquiétudes quant à l'équilibre entre vie professionnelle et vie personnelle. GBA Plus research has shown how people of all genders from racialized communities have different perceptions about a military career. So we need to overcome these perceptions and speak to what motivates people from various communities. Canada's sailors, soldiers, and aviators perform meaningful work at home and abroad and can find flexibility through part-time service with the primary reserve. But we recognize that attracting people to the military is not enough. They need the right policies and structures to want to stay. As GBA Plus is important to recruitment, it is also critical in retention. For example, when we purchase equipment, we need to consider the differences in size, shape, and mobility of different CAF personnel. During the Medium Support Vehicle System project, we found that soldiers below a certain height would have difficulty pushing the vehicle's brake pedal across its entire range of motion. So we worked with the contractor to move the pedal. Not only did this make the truck safer, but it meant that a group of people wouldn't be excluded from driving it. That is how we can set people up for success. Clothes and equipment that fit their bodies, policies that fit their needs, and career paths that fit their professional aspirations. In the context of operations, the Canadian Armed Forces is currently assessing barriers to women's meaningful participation in peace support operations. And D&D is exploring the use of GBA Plus to help inform Canada's selection of and role in ongoing and future military operations. On the civilian side, D&D implemented the Civilian Diversity and Inclusion Action Plan in 2019, which aims to eliminate employment equity gaps, expand leadership representation, enhance promotion rates for all civilian diversity groups, implement inclusive practices, and embed individual accountability. In order to overcome our systemic barriers, we need strong and inclusive leadership. Last September, National Defence launched an executive recruitment campaign for racialized people to increase representation within our senior leadership team. This process was heavily informed by GBA+. We used research and evidence to guide our decisions. We implemented new AI tools and assessment methods to evaluate candidates. And we challenged legacy recruiting, assessment, and hiring practices to eliminate bias. We successfully qualified 36 top-tier candidates. Some of these individuals have already been hired from this process, and others will fill future executive positions at National Defence and in the broader public service. National Defence is committed to evaluating human resource policies, programs, tools, and reporting systems through a GBA Plus and anti-racism lens. We need to understand how our legacy initiatives impact people and how we can improve in the future. One example is the Military Spouse Employment Initiative. After a GBA Plus review, we found that the program previously focused on a narrow scope of administrative and clerical roles. So we're highlighting jobs in a variety of fields to provide military spouses with a broader range of opportunities. National Defence and the Canadian Armed Forces have made progress over the years regarding GBA Plus across all lines of efforts. That said, the department recognizes that more needs to be done to build a safe, welcoming, and inclusive workspace. Let me be clear, every person deserves to work in an environment that is free from harassment and discrimination. That is why we welcome the crucial recommendations that will come from Madame Louise Arbour's independent comprehensive external review. And that is why we created the new Chief Professional Conduct and Culture organization, which will be led by Lieutenant General Jenny Carignan. Looking forward, and in the spirit of this motion, D&D CAF will continue building on the foundational GBA Plus work that has been done so far. We recognize that it needs to be applied through every stage of our work, from initial planning through to evaluation. La ACS Plus va nous aider à améliorer la façon dont nous recrutons et retenons les personnes issues de diverses communautés. Et elle va nous aider à améliorer la façon dont nous faisons notre important travail pour la défense du Canada. Finalement, je tiens à profondément remercier mon collègue, le député de Marc-Aurèle Fortin, d'avoir mis de l'avant cette importante motion qui arrive à un moment clé. Je le remercie également pour son engagement continu à être un allié et à contribuer à améliorer nos institutions pour les rendre plus inclusifs. Madame la Présidente, la Défense nationale appuie cette motion sans amendement. Merci beaucoup.